For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby German?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about 50.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
That little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed it.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
They dropped the ball, man. They said he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. Today, we're going to be talking about Richard Allen case in Delphi, Indiana. This is a case that has heated up a little bit over the last couple of weeks or so. There's been some people that have come forward talking about who they suspect have committed this crime. Some attorneys have been released, put back. It appears now, after us getting the idea that this case probably wasn't going to get tried till at the very end of this year, if not next year, seems to be moving forward much quicker than normal. Today, we have a special guest, Anthony Greeno from True Crime Investigates, who's been covering this case for a very long time. Welcome back to the show, Anthony. How you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing good, bud. How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad myself. It's been one of those days, man. This whole week has just kind of got me when it comes to the time change and trying to adjust to the spring forward, which is more of a loss of an hour. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Have you been adjusting to it all right? Is it
I'm fine, man. I didn't even realize it. So I go to bed pretty early. So like whenever I go to bed, I didn't even realize that I'm up pretty early. So it didn't really affect me.
Well, that's good, my man. That's good. So last time we spoke, there was a 136-page document dropped by Richard Allen's attorneys and his defense team, and they were wanting to move forward with the case. And then we got some notification that they were getting kicked off.
Yep. Richard
Allen ends up getting 2 new lawyers. And I think that's the last time that we spoke. What happened with the 2 new lawyers now that, because apparently Richard Allen's old lawyers are back on the job? Is that correct?
They're back on the case after they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled a numerous amount of things, actually. They ruled that the attorneys should be back on, those 2 right there, Andrew Baldwin on the left, Brad Rosie on the right, should be back on because that's Allen's counsel of choice, and they've represented him this time, and it was unlawful for the judge to remove them as counsel without a hearing prior to that. So they reinstated them back, and the other attorneys withdrew their appearances. That would have been William Labrado and Robert Scremin. So they were only on for a very short period of time. I think 70-something days, and then they were removed themselves from the case, and it's back to these guys again.
Interesting. So the judge was overruled, and was there any type of consequence for her decision to remove them? Is she still the judge moving forward?
She is still the judge moving forward. The defense alleged that the judge was biased against Richard Allen, and the Supreme Court also ruled that they found that she was not biased in any manner. The only thing that she did was there was procedural error in removing the defense team without a hearing, and that she could still remove them, but they had to have a hearing, and they left it open.
Is there a hearing?
There is a hearing, because the moment they got put back on the case, they filed to have the judge removed from the case, and the prosecutor filed to hold them in contempt for leaking of crime scene photos and various evidence throughout this case. And that's really where we're at coming up on Monday, the 18th, is they're going to court. Those two are going to court, represented by an attorney named David Hennessy, before Judge Gall, to see if they should be held in contempt for their actions. And then she can sanction them.
So it's still Judge Gall's decision.
It is.
All right, so just to kind of go over what it is that they were kicked off for, I know that that some of it or a lot of it had to do with crime scene photos. Was there more to it than just the crime scene photos that were leaked out?
So it was a series of things. It was in December 2022, discovery material was inadvertently emailed from Andrew Baldwin to another one of his clients named Brandon Woodhouse, and that contained information about Richard Allen. That was one thing. Then they made public statements about the case after a gag order was issued, and then the crime scene photos was ultimately the last straw.
Isn't the gentleman that got the emailed letters or the accidental emails related to one of the victims? Brandon, you said, what was his name?
Woodhouse.
Yeah. Is he related to one of the victims?
I don't think he's related to one of the victims. He's currently incarcerated in the Carroll County Jail, facing up to 30 years for habitual offender status, because he came out and said that he had this information and was going to make it public on YouTube. And the very next day, the prosecutor issued a search warrant for his home, and they were able to arrest him on firearm violations.
Interesting. Is he an Odinist?
I don't know if he's an Odinist, but I know that he has been involved in gangs that practice white supremacy.
Because I could have swore, and I could be wrong, but I could have swore I watched some of his YouTube videos, and in some of them that he claimed to have been, an Odinist, and at one time also claimed to be related to Libby. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm confusing the two with somebody else, but I thought that was the case. If he is Odinist, which attorney was representing him?
Baldwin on the left.
So Baldwin on the left has represented one of his clients who is Odinist, and they claim that they've never heard of this, though, when it comes to Richard Allen's case, right?
Right.
Interesting.
Right. So how would they know? How would they know?
So that's the curious thing, that they said that they had no idea what Odinist was, or that it was a thing. I think they even mentioned at a certain point that they had seen some sort of Thor affiliated sign or something like that on the back of a Jeep cover, and that they would have never known that had they not gotten on this case and spoke about Odinism. Yet one of their clients, the one that they release information to, perhaps could be involved in Odinism. That sounds odd, man.
It sounds really odd, especially when he says he's going to make it public, and then they issue a search warrant.
Is there any indication or any accusation that these weren't accidental releases?
They claim it was accidental.
But has anybody accused them of it not being?
Yeah. I would say a lot of people accuse that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of things that come out accidentally in this case. And it all seems to come, I believe, from what I've found, directly from these two right here. Their actions have caused these things to happen.
And so these documents, it was mainly the pictures that they sent out to this Wood guy. I can't pronounce his name. What's his name again?
Woodhouse.
I got to write that down, man. I'm bad with names, bro. I started a international conspiracy because I accidentally called one of our callers Pam when her name was Kim, And I couldn't get it out of my head, man. If I call somebody something like my brother-in-law, his name is Thomas. You see, I had to stop and think because I have a tendency of calling him Travis, and just no idea why. So, Woodhouse, right?
Yep, Woodhouse.
So it started off with him. He ended up getting the pictures. Was there more than that he got?
Well, I don't think it was pictures. I think it was discovery. They didn't actually say. They said it was discovery outline material for Richard Allen case. So the pictures didn't come out until the fall, when right around the time we were talking. Right around then, the pictures had that had all been happening behind the scenes. I think while we were talking last time on the stream, stuff like that was actually happening that we weren't aware about at that time.
Yeah, because the last time we spoke, I didn't have the pictures. I hadn't seen them. And then I think it was maybe I did one or two more lives on Delphi. And I had mentioned it again that I hadn't seen the pictures. And then somebody claiming to be a mod for somebody else's channel said they weren't aware that I hadn't gotten them and thought that I should, I guess. And they emailed them to me. And so I ended up having that information there. So, all right. So he gets discovery information. When was this again? That this information gets released to Brandon?
December 2022.
So how long had these guys been his attorney, Richard Allen's attorney, before they started making mistakes?
They became his attorney in November of 2022.
Huh. So immediately.
Yes. 1 month. 1 month later, it happened. Less than a month, actually, because they were appointed, I believe, on November 21st or something like that, towards the end of November.
And this isn't the only time they had an issue where evidence was released. So there was the pictures, and that was when we were speaking, and that was in 2023.
Yep.
Anything else that has been accidentally released?
Well, I mean, I think that, there's a whole lot of stuff that's been released. I mean, so the pictures were released. There's also documentation that was released, and there is things that were talked about when Mitch Westerman was arrested for the pictures, for taking photographs of those pictures. There was information about communications between different individuals that were involved in the leak, and now those are leaked. So, and that's after talking about the leak. So those are evidence about the leak, and now they're leaked.
Well, this isn't, leaks in this case isn't an uncommon event. I mean, there's been leaks going back to some of the things that Keegan Kline has said. In fact, I think there was an entire interrogation that had been going back and forth between Keegan Kline and police officers that ended up being leaked. Is that not correct?
Yeah. There's communication. Keegan Kline catfished the girls and told him he was going to be there that day under the Anthony Shots profile.
So it's not just the defense that's doing these leaks. It's been leaks from more than likely also law enforcement. What does that mean? How does that make you feel about this case moving forward, that there's been so many leaks, whether it's from the defense's side or the prosecution?
Well, to me, it worries me big time because it could cause so much reasonable doubt. Someone could be acquitted when maybe they're actually guilty, or vice versa, because of people's confusion on the case. It could really, jeopardize that outcome of a trial, and it could be a mistrial. Mm-hmm. There could be appeal basis based on things that have happened. It's a whole slew of things that really could happen. And I just don't see this ending smoothly at all because of all this.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think that this is going to be a very difficult case to end up getting justice, in my opinion. I think that this can of worms of Odinism and not just so much that it's out there, it's the fact that law enforcement has lost some things. Didn't they record or lose over some sort of interviews that they have taken, things like that, when it came to that angle?
Yeah, when it came to the Odinism angle, I guess there was a series of interviews that were recorded over or deleted in that time period right after the murders within a few days.
Mm-hmm. What does that make you, how does it make you feel about those type of things? Do you think that there's anything to them, or do you think that was just something that was accidental? Because it sounds like it was recorded over fairly quickly after it was taped.
Yeah. So I think that they didn't have the experience to do. I mean, Carroll County, we never had anything like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened, and law enforcement from all over the state and the FBI came into this one county. So you got detectives that don't even work for this police department, just helping and coming from other places, and they don't know the area or the people. And so, like, I think everybody there was too many people submitting information and trying to do things without communication with each other. That, oh, there's the tape right there. These are the tapes we record over. Someone else grabbed it and started recording over it. I could see that because they didn't have any real investigation structure for a case like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not the first time that I've heard of a small department kind of being a little bit over their heads, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you're saying that this week the court, there's a trial for Richard Allen's attorneys, whether or not they're going to stay on. Isn't there been a deal where they're going to start trial already? If these guys are taken off, then that trial date has to be moved back again, doesn't it?
I would assume so. I mean, I don't know how that would work because I've never actually seen this before. I've never seen a case where a defense attorney they're already set for a speedy trial. So the law says it has to commence within 70 days from the date it's filed, which would be by May 15th. It's scheduled for May 13th. So they only have 2 days to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he has to be released from jail, but still answer to the charges. And that, they don't want that. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm confused over it, really, because I don't know what's going to happen. Because if new attorneys come on, they're not going to be prepared in 2 months,
right?
So I think that they would file a motion to disregard that. But I don't really know.
Well, I think that if Judge Gold is planning, or who approved the motion to go forward, because I think she was the one that wanted it to be next year, ain't it? Or later on this year.
So that's actually why that happened, is because she removed them and the new attorneys came in and asked her to set it back. It was scheduled for May, I think it was already, and then they pushed it back. Or no, it was scheduled for January originally this year. And she pushed it back because the new attorney said, oh, we can't be ready by then. We need a year. They made it, October. And then when they got thrown out, or when they withdrew, these guys are back and they're like, nope, let's hurry it up.
Right. But who approved that? Somebody had to approve.
The judge approved
so Judge Gold approved it moving forward earlier.
Yep.
So then there's probably a good chance that she might not throw them out of this case.
Correct. And just sanction them in some other way.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. How do you feel about the fact that they want a speedy trial? I know that you've been a person that has been, you think that Richard Allen is a guy that has done this. You find him to be more than likely it was him. I don't know if that's your stance at 100%, but does this change your stance at all that he wants to move forward so quickly?
No, it doesn't change my stance at all. I think that they are, I don't typically have faith in my local government officials just because I've been through things with them, and I've seen the corruption. I know it exists. I've been a victim of it, so I can't say it doesn't. But in this one instance, I have faith and I believe in them, and I think that they're right on this one.
Got you. So what is the evidence that points to Richard Allen, in your opinion, that is beyond that you just can't get over? Like, for instance, when I talked about the Bryant Kohberger case, and we talked about how in the probable cause affidavit, they talked about phone pings and a bunch of other things that aren't very accurate. And early on in the beginning, some of those things I questioned, and it's been a while, and warrants come out and explanations of things happen. So it's a lot more clear now than it was in the beginning. And man, where was I going with that?
Why he's guilty?
Yeah. So I thought that there was a chance there. I remember now. When it came to Brian Koberger, I was like, there's some stuff there that's iffy. But the one thing I couldn't get over was the fact that he turned his phone off during the crime. And later on, the DNA came back, and it came back 5 octillion times him, and this, that, and a third. But the one thing that always stuck with me was the fact that he turned his phone off during the commission of the crime, and it was off during that specific time. What in this case is that for you?
It's kind of, it almost goes with that. There's a couple different things, I guess it would be. Really, I think it's all his own confessions for me, because he told him what time he got there, what time he left. So he arrived at 1:30. He said he left at 3:30. Okay. And he said later on what he was wearing, another confession, a blue or black jacket and maybe a hat. Well, we know that the bridge guy has on a blue jacket. Okay. And in blue jeans is what he said. So he admitted to that. He also admitted to seeing 3 juvenile girls when he entered the trail. They admitted to seeing him. Those statements are, that's done. So he's placing himself there. We have proof of his existence on camera with a security camera seeing his car, his own admissions, and he's made prison confessions 5 or 6 times to his mother and his wife. And we don't know the context behind them. But if the prosecutor says that he's confessed to the crimes charged, I believe what he's saying. I don't think he would just lie about that in court. I mean, and it's all Richard Allen's own confessions. He said that he was there on his phone on a stock ticker. And now we're seeing in documents that came out yesterday that the defense team is saying that there were other phones that were in the area, and that none of the phones that are affiliated with Richard Allen or the phones that showed up in that area are affiliated with Richard Allen. And so what I question is his own admission that he had a phone and was checking his stock ticker. I would like to see the cellular data dump from that phone, because where did that specific phone go that day? Or did he leave his phone at home and take a burner phone there? You know what I mean? If they can't track that phone to the crime scene and prove that he actually walked there and it went somewhere else, and it doesn't line up with what he said when he left, it's his admissions that get him. So that's what it is for me. Things he said about himself.
Yeah, I can see that, man. For me, when it came to this case, I was pretty set in stone that it was him. It was him alone, with the probable cause affidavit, with the things that he said about him being on the trail that day. The timing in which he was there, I found it most impossible for it to have been somebody else. And then there's this oldness stuff that's dropped, and that kind of makes me question, was there somebody else involved? Are you still thinking that it's just solely him?
Well, I'm open to possibilities. Yes, I think it's solely him, but I'm open to the suggestion that maybe someone else helped. And I see where that could happen at now. But I see it. I see where the theory could be there, but I don't see evidence that points 100% to that being. I would say that's probably 90 or 80% unlikely for that to have happened, where someone else come in because they weren't captured on video. They weren't seen by any other witnesses. They've not come forward and said they were there. So that means they would have to come from one direction, park, and the cell phone data says that that these people were within 60 to 100 yards of the crime scene at 3:02 and 3:27. Now, the bridge guy abducted them at 2:13. So we can presume that if he left at 3:30 and someone else's phone pinged near the crime scene, is that an accomplice? And if so, why didn't they go all the way to the crime scene? Why did they just walk 40 yards into the woods and turn around and go back? And he walked down the road. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? They let him walk down the road muddy and bloody, and they just drove out and went back the other way without him, instead of driving him back to his car if they were his accomplice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it couldn't have been someone that helped carry the body. I know people have asked this. It couldn't be someone that helped carry the bodies from one side of the creek to the other or anywhere in there, because they never actually made it to the crime scene. So they wouldn't have been placing sticks or anything like that as those ritualistic sacrifices they would have suggested, because they didn't make it to the crime scene. Only he did.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I think that there's a good possibility that he did it in his own. You know, Elvis Field's statements sound kind of odd. You know, the things that he said, you know, the antlers, you know, even though there wasn't anything, for instance, you know, I've seen the pictures. It don't look, I mean, the horns, he said he put horns in one of the girls, above the girls' heads. And although it doesn't really look like horns, there is something placed above one of the victims' heads. And the reason I can tell that it was placed there is because it's above a lot of her hair. You know, it wasn't, they didn't drag her over it. They didn't lay her on top of it, because it would have been under her hair. It was on top of it. And so that tells me that somebody did purposefully put it there. And that part right there and his statements kind of make me think that there's a little bit more to it. But I do think that Richard Allen is involved. I believe that one of the guys, Patrick Westfall, he was a guy that frequented a bar there in Delphi. Are you familiar with the bar that he used to go to?
It would either been Easter's, Keisters, The Office, or Dogs. I don't know. One of those. Yeah. I think there's only 4 there. Or, you know, the old one, but that's not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I heard that he was at a bar. He had some sort of relations to a bar that Richard Allen frequented. Have you heard any of those type of things?
Yeah. So that would have been, so the bar that he would have frequented, if the one you guys see him playing pool at, was formerly owned by my uncle before he sold it to his friend. And then he took over from there. So that would have been right down the road from the courthouse and everything. Literally like a block away.
Interesting. Have you ever seen Richard Allen in person?
I seen him one time that I remember. I only seen him one time at CBS, just to ask where some aisle was, or where something was in the store, and that was all that was communicated between me and him.
Did he look short?
I don't remember, man, to be honest, because I'm not that tall either. I'm only 5'9", so, you know, and he's a little bit huskier than I am. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't associate him with a short guy. I guess I don't really remember the encounter that well. I just remember that was the same guy that I saw. And I mean, immediately when I thought that, I thought, yeah, that's the bridge guy's voice, after I realized that.
Oh, the reason I ask is because I've seen that video of him playing pool. I've seen another video of him playing pool as well, where he's kind of hanging out by a pole. And in those images, yeah, in those videos, you can tell that he's like shorter than everybody else, but he doesn't look significantly shorter. I was just kind of curious if maybe perhaps he wore boots, or he wore, you know, maybe perhaps he thought he wore insoles or something like that to make him appear to be taller. I know that when he's walked around in custody here in court, he appears to be very short. Now, he wouldn't be wearing boots. He'd be wearing flats, and there wouldn't be any inserts in those situations. So maybe perhaps it's just more of that's why he appears to be smaller than what he may have appeared in person. So
you're right. I mean, because the bridge guy doesn't look like a little guy like that. When you see Richard Allen, when he came in looking really skinny, right, to the court, when he first got arrested, he was a little bit thicker. You know, he was, but then he quit eating and stuff like that because he was depressed. But when you see him there, and you're like, man, put the bridge guy coat on that guy, and I don't, you know, I could start to not see it. But then this recent time he comes back to court, he's got a little bit more meat on him, but he doesn't have as much as he had when he got arrested. Now, when I look at that, and then I look at that video of him in the car from right before the murders in the blue coat that you see, I am like, that and that are the same person right there. He looked like that at the time of the murders, I believe. You know
what video?
So there's a video that's posted. Inside Edition has a clip of it on it. It's him. So
you said it's on Inside Edition. I'm gonna try to look it up.
Yeah, it's on Inside Edition. It's on Inside Edition. And It's called, like, was a suspect hiding in plain sight? And what it is it's him in the car, and he's looking at his phone, and his wife walks up to scare him, and he turns and looks at her, and you can see him in the blue coat, and he's got a thin goatee. That right there, the way he looks then and the way he looks now is, I think that's identical to what he looked like at the time of the crime.
Interesting. Is let me see. Let me pull this up real quick. And okay, yeah, this is the one. All right, let me pull it up real fast. All right. So this is the video you're talking about.
Yep.
When was this video taken?
That video came off of her Facebook page. I believe it was November 2016. Which is 2 months before, or like what, 3 months or so before?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the blue jacket, you know. I mean, that's what I think. I think that is the same blue jacket, because you don't really see any more pictures of him with that, and he wasn't wearing that after the crime.
Well, didn't they say that, or claim that they still had it and they turned it over?
They said that he still had a blue jacket, a Carhartt jacket, they said. Now, I don't know if that's a Carhartt jacket. To me, the bridge guy looks like it's kind of a windbreaker. Does Carhartt make windbreaker type jackets like that?
I'm not sure. I don't think it looks like I don't know what it looks like.
It's hard to tell, dude. I know you could look like a million things in one.
Yeah,
really.
It looks like a blue jacket. I mean, you know, everything else makes it kind of difficult to see. I just want to see if they go back to this. That's interesting. I had seen pictures of this. I hadn't seen the video of this before.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like, that was one of the things I was like, oh man, yeah, there he is right there, pow. And what was he looking at on his phone that he had to jump up and hide it real quick? You know what I mean? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, he got pretty pissed off about it.
Didn't he?
Interesting. It's an interesting photo or video.
Yeah. That's who I think is the guy right there, man. And one of my questions is, when he went to go talk to law enforcement, was he wearing the blue jacket when he told him that he was out there that day? You know, and if he did go out there the day that they were found, or and say that he was there, like they suggest, he must not have had any kind of physical signs of he had been into a fight, because they would have noticed that. If he had scratches all over his face or something, or,
right.
You know, they would have noticed that.
I'm going to look up the original Delphi video.
Of the bridge guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, ISP website has it.
Do they? I've been always just looking at it on here. I mean, it is reflective, but it's not more reflective than his pants. So if it was a windbreaker, I would expect it to be extremely reflective.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, does that look like a Carhartt blue jacket to you? I mean, I guess I could see that. See how it looks like it buttons up? Like, go ahead.
This is a collar. You can see it right here on the top, on his right side.
Yep.
Kind of see it on his left side. That jacket that he was wearing had a collar. And for a while, I thought it was like one of those that had a hoodie. And he may have a sweater underneath.
Yeah, because what is the brown thing down below his on his hip? Is that his holster? Is that a hoodie underneath? You know, and it looks like his jacket is a zip up and a button up jacket, because if you back it up a couple frames right there. Yeah, right there. And then see how it's like open right there in the center of his chest, and then it comes together.
Yeah,
and
right
then
here.
And if you play it and then get ready to pause it. Right there. See how it like buttons right there? It almost like it tightens up in that one spot at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what I see when I'm looking at this photograph. You know, and I've always thought I've seen a man with a very thin goatee, with a baseball cap with the bill folded. That's what I've always thought. And he has a hoodie on underneath the jacket, is what I've always thought. And I thought that right there, see, he doesn't have his hand. He has his left hand in his pant pocket, and he has his right hand on top of the brown thing, but under his coat. And so I think that the brown thing, he's got his pistol in his hoodie pocket on his stomach underneath of his jacket, and he's getting ready to walk up to him and pull it out, is what I think.
And you think that this thing right here, this brown thing, is some sort of like fanny pack or holster?
I think it's his hoodie.
I was gonna say, that doesn't
underneath.
That looks like a t-shirt that was longer. That's longer than the jacket, and it could be purposefully pulled over in that area to conceal a weapon. But I don't see a fanny pack. I see a t-shirt. I mean, it could be. It looks like there's some density.
I know. But in like a couple frames from now, it's going to look like it's flat. You know what I mean? Or at the beginning of it, it's like, let's see there. What's that? Now it looks like it's flat against his leg.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it is a shirt that's hanging down like that, then his hand's clearly not in his pants pocket. It's underneath of his jacket, holding on to whatever he's got under there.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the guy's short, so his shirt could go that far down his waist.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Especially if he's maybe a thicker guy, not fat, but a thicker dude that needs to wear like a large or extra large shirt. Those are typically designed for taller men. So that might fit him width-wise, but not lengthwise. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. And then that right there, you can see what I was talking about just a second ago, but the button, see, it comes together in that one spot and then opens back up.
Here's a pretty good example why I think it's a t-shirt. You see this line right here on his bottom of his pants? It's fluid. It's flat up it continues right here. It's flat along. If it was a fanny pack or something like that, it would stick out. Yeah. It's not sticking out. This is flat along his pants. And I can see it go up to about right here to where his hand is. You can see the curvature like that, come around, and then up his leg like that. I hope you guys can see the mouse of what I'm doing.
So let me ask you.
That's a t-shirt.
It's definitely a shirt of some kind. What do you think is above that, right there in that outline on the blue jacket in the pocket area?
Right here?
Like right above his hand? Like that whole, like right that down. Yeah, right there. That right above his hand, just to the right a little bit. Right there. Yep. That area. What do you think that is? And he's got something in his pocket for sure. Right? If you watch him walk, you can kind of see the bulge as it moves.
So you think that he has his hand underneath his jacket with the gun in his hand?
Yes, that's what I think. But I don't think that's an outline of the gun in his jacket pocket, because I think he's got the gun in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know, dude. There's a couple things that I just am curious about. One, it could be the firearm in his jacket pocket itself, and he's got his hand underneath of it for some reason. Maybe he's got it on, I don't know, the knife, and he changed his mind. I don't know.
Some folks are saying that they think that the brown was added to cover up the gun.
Well, I wouldn't think that, because I don't know. I don't think that they would show us that if they knew it was a gun, because he would know that he had that. I don't think that they would let him know that they knew that by just blurring it out, because if he saw this, he would be like, oh man, I had my gun out at that point. They know I have a gun. I need to get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that they would do that because that would tip him off to get rid of the firearm, which he didn't do.
Right.
That's just my thought. I mean, I may be wrong, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna download some images, because I can't zoom in on this, and I want to zoom in. You know what I mean?
I know. And you want to zoom in and overlay and start looking at things. It gets really difficult It'll drive you crazy, man.
Yeah, because like this other image that I'm looking at over here, it kind of looks more like it could be some sort of holder or pack.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This is from Indie Star. Where did you say that it was at? The original?
It's on the Indiana State Police website. So if you type in like Google ISP Delphi, just type in Indiana State Police Delphi, and it's right there on that. It pulls up like the tip information, and then you scroll down. It's got 3 separate audios and 3 separate videos that you can just click, and it downloads it right to your computer.
Mm.
And those are like, that's what I would consider like the original source without anybody's tampering with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got this. Huh?
Yeah. And this is so interesting, man, because now every time I look at that guy or the bridge guy, I see Richard Allen now. That picture right there, I look at that and I see Richard Allen. And now I can see a short guy, but he didn't look that short this whole time.
Well, how wide across is this platform?
I think it's 12 feet.
Okay. All right. Let me see. You know what? Got an idea. I got an idea. Let me figure something out. It's not going to be 100%, but I want to check something out.
Okay. I'm going to pull up Google Earth too, because I want to show you something. Maybe you can run with that. I think everybody would probably be interested in seeing.
Let's see.
Okay, yeah. What's up, everybody? So I'm streaming this to my channel also, everybody that's watching this. So I'm actually a guest on the Drunk Turkey Show for the people that are watching from my channel. I'm talking with Daniel, and we're talking about the Delphi case. So I was on the show a while back, and we're talking about it today. So if you guys are here, go over to Drunk Turkey Show and subscribe if you're from my channel.
And the same over here, guys. If you haven't checked out True Crime Investigates, check out Anthony Greeno there. It is in the title. Just click on that and you'll be able to check it out. Now, one thing that I'm noticing here is that look at how tall the railroad ties are to Richard Allen's leg and how tall they are to Libby's leg. It's about the same.
Abby's leg, yeah.
Yeah, Abby's leg. Sorry about that. And then you have, to me, I think that these two people are fairly close in height, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it almost does look, you know, you could see that actually.
Like, I'm not trying to make her the same size and then say, oh, look, there it is. That's how tall they are. What I'm looking at is the size of the platform, the size of the railroad ties compared to the size of the platform and the railroad ties for this person. And I don't see a, what do you call it? A person, they look fairly close as far as their size compared to what's on the screen. I mean, I think maybe Abby's a little bit smaller.
Probably. Yeah. Well, he's a little bit thicker for sure. You know, but yeah, I mean, how tall was she? Like 5'2", maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure how tall she was, to be honest, but I know that she was probably 5 foot something, you know, maybe 5'1", 5'2", or maybe, you know, maybe I would assume that she was that tall. I know they weren't short. So that would make them very, very similar in height, which would make sense on why the crime was so, you know, brutal or whatever, because he's not that big of a guy to be fighting two people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it just seems like the platform that they're standing on. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It looks like Abby's taking more of the platform than he is.
Yeah.
But it's not fair
But
because I
it's,
can't say.
I was gonna say, and it's also from a little bit different angle. It's down looking up at him and kind of straight on at chest level looking at her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. I get it. It's just, it almost looks like she takes up more of the platform space than he takes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel that if you had somebody out there that was 6 foot tall and 200 and some pounds, he'd probably take up more of the platform himself.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be able to see a lot less of what's going on.
So, it is, in my opinion, you can tell from just the pictures of this person comparing her to the size of what the bridge looks like and what he looks like compared to the bridge. And this is the same bridge, the same day. So,
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Same day, just a couple of minutes later.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. And this is the trail, right? Supposedly, it's supposed to be facing the trail.
That is the trail where they entered from. Yes.
I see that you're showing something. You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, you can pull it up if you want. So this is the trail system here, and where that photograph of the bridge guy was taken, he was standing right here. Okay. And they were standing right here at the end of the bridge. It's only about 70 feet. And then he walked him down the hill, across a private driveway, down another hill, which is right here. You can barely see it. And then they walked in this direction, and the bodies were found right over here. So in this new stuff that came out today that talked about individuals' phones were within a certain area of the crime scene, within 60 to 100 yards. Well, from 60 to 100 yards, the law enforcement labeled the crime scene. They kind of confused us. So I went ahead and covered it all. So they said this is the crime scene, where the area where the bodies were found. But then they said that the crime scene also stretched from the bridge where the abduction occurred to this area because evidence was found in between here. So I went ahead and covered the whole basis. And what I did was I figured out how far 60 and 100 yards was from all these locations. And what I did was, that's from the bridge itself where the abduction occurred. That is 100 yards away from that area, because they're saying that cell phones pinged within 100 to 60 yards of the crime scene. So I did the same thing on the other side. There's another one. And what I did was I just connected the red lines. So that would have been 100 yards from the bridge, from where the abduction occurred to where the bodies were found. That would be 100 yards. Okay. Now, if we go a little bit closer to 60, that's these locations right here. So that would be within 60 yards of the actual crime scene itself. One or these. Okay. It's either this whole area or just this area or just this area, but it's mainly this area. Now, if we get rid of these, law enforcement actually has listed as the crime scene Ron Logan's address, not somewhere down here in the woods, this little specific area. They actually have the crime scene itself listed as the property address of Ronald Logan. So this would actually be considered the crime scene from a standpoint. And within that crime scene, I went ahead and went to each point and location and circled 60 yards from each point. And then I went through and I connected each point to say, okay, this would be someone within or 100 or 60 yards within, of the crime. All right. So then what I do is I go and I get rid of these circles. And when I get rid of the circles, that's our outline. So people would have been within that area right there within the green in order to have been placed at the crime scene during that time. Now, if we did it again and I said, okay, let's go to 100 yards out, and I did the circles and then I created the lines, it actually comes up to this one specific area here. Okay, so let me get rid of the rest of the stuff within Ron Logan's property. And we'll take a look at it. So this is actually the furthest away that they said people could have been on the day of the murders between 3 and 3:30 p.m. right there from the crime scene. So someone driving by, could be someone driving by on the road up there, could have been one of those people in those other houses right there to the right, or could have been someone driving down the private driveway, or someone even just stopping to place flowers at the cemetery. So, I mean, I could see how people's phones would ping in that area around that time. That could be unaccounted for.
Interesting.
That's just something I was putting together today and trying to, if someone was within the crime scene based on the documents, what would it look like? And that's what I came up with. So,
I was talking to one of my contacts who was former top security clearance in the military. He did geolocations and locating and triangulations. That was what his job was. Obviously, it wasn't for criminals, and it was more towards utilized in time of war. And one of the things that he was telling me, because I was talking about a different case. Obviously, it was the Brian Koberger case and how his pings work and things like that. But he told me that if you have a situation where somebody is moving around, that's when the accuracy can be off when it comes to those geolocations. So if you have somebody who is showing up at one location and then they're at a different location and all these other things, and it's less accurate, it's because they're moving around, whether they're driving around or they're moving somewhere. Now, if they're not moving and they're relatively in the same spot, you can get down to about 10 meters of accuracy as far as where they're located. So, I know that some people said that like certain people's phones were moving around, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said that, like Ron Logan's, the property owner, they said his phone pinged within an area of the crime scene as well, but really he was in his house. So he was on the phone, you know what I mean? But his phone pinged at near the area, you know what I mean? Like sometime in the middle of the night, which it doesn't make sense for people because they're like, well, people take it as literal that it was right there at that specific spot. And no, they're saying within an area. And when they say within an area, it's actually within a bigger area than what it seems.
How many phone pings are there? I mean, phone towers are there in Delphi?
There's 2, and there is one directly across the street from Ronald Logan's house that we were looking at right there directly. And then there's another one just kind of in town. So there may be more than that now, but at the time there was 2.
Yeah, see, that's going to be a little bit of an issue because according to my source, said you kind of want to have at least 3. I don't know how accurate the 2 is going to be, but if you have at least 3 towers, it's fairly accurate. And the way it works is it measures the strength of the signal and the time that it takes to get to the phone and back, and that's how it measures where you're at. But he kind of told me you need 3.
Yeah, that's why I think this might be not as good as conclusive as they want.
But it is interesting that there's nothing saying that Richard Allen's phone was pinged in the area, and he says he was on his phone.
Correct. So how does that work? I mean, that's where I find the hole in the story. Okay, well, if you were there, your phone should ping there. And if none of those phones there pinged belonging to him, that means he didn't take one. Or if he did, he took one that he didn't tell him about.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's for me. I mean, that's where I'm at in this. For everybody that's wondering my opinion, that's what's got me stuck on him.
Well, like I said, I definitely do think that this guy right here on the bridge is more than likely Richard Allen. I question if other people were also involved. Looking at this picture from this angle right here, I wonder if I can edit this on the fly here. So I want to line this up, because if this thing goes if this brown, whatever it is, goes all the way to where the other side of his waist is,
yep,
it tells me more than it's a shirt.
Yeah, I don't think it would be any kind of like fanny pack or I've seen holsters, I've seen fanny packs. I think we put a fanny pack on the bridge guy during the reenactment series that I did. because it was kind of like a collaboration effort, and I was outvoted on that with, what do we use, for this? And it seemed that a fanny pack worked the best for that. But we did leave that open to, this may not be a fanny pack. It could be, a hoodie or some other shirt or something like that that's just sitting there. I've heard a lot of things, and I couldn't tell you. I mean, I've heard a lot of things about what that could be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a fanny pack. I mean, it did look weird on this one image that I had seen. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I mean, I should just go to the website. Where was it?
All right.
There it is. If you guys have any questions for us, please put a couple of stars down in the comment section before your question. It'll help me see them, and that way we can get those going.
It's quick, ain't he?
Yeah, let me
slow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quick. It's really quick. It's like, whoa, man, that was a fast video. Why just that?
Yeah.
Why didn't they give us more, like, further back? Because it's 43 seconds.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Could it be
I've been
that
doing this for 7 years, dude?
because it looks like I can see his hand right here.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like I can see his hand. So to me, that kind of tells me that he may have like a shirt in his hand. He purposefully pulled his shirt out and covered over his hand. And I think that there might be a weapon underneath there.
Yeah.
But
It
I don't
just
know.
seems like,
Yeah. I wish I could show you guys, but I think I think that's what he's doing. I think he pulled his shirt out and has his hand and the gun under his shirt. That's what it sort of looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, because the police report does say that as he approached him, one of the girls mentioned a gun, and the suspect is seen and heard on the video recording pulling it or telling the girls to go down the hill. So aiming a fire, they said he cocked it. So if they may have seen that happen, you know what I mean? I don't know. They just may not have been able to see his face. I don't know. But right there, that's where you can see his goatee. See, sometimes he looks like he's got just a mustache. Sometimes he looks like he's got a goatee. That right there, I think, looks like he's got a thin goatee.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to tell. I mean, it looks like there's something dark on his face, but could be shadows, could be a lot of things. What it looks like, what I think happened, my opinion, my speculation is that this person pulled out his weapon before walking on the bridge and then covered under his shirt as he approached. Maybe he did have a holster or something, and he unholstered it prior to walking on that bridge and just tried to conceal it with his shirt. That's what it looks like to me.
Right. Because we know he also had a knife somewhere.
Yeah. It's just kind of odd that why he wouldn't just put it in his jacket pocket.
Maybe it would get caught coming out. If you know how you stick something in your pocket and you can't really get it out. So like, imagine if, I don't know how well anybody can see my hand here, but imagine if I've got something in my pocket here in my hoodie pocket and I want to pull it out of there. It may get stuck in the process of trying to get it out of here. So if I keep it under my shirt here, this is quick access to my hand out.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming too, man. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of happening, because it just doesn't look right with his left hand being in his pant pocket, just sitting there. I mean, maybe that hand's on the knife and the other one's on the gun. Don't know if he's. Thank you very much, Texas Made, for that. That's cool. Maybe he's got both of them in each hand. Maybe I don't know if he's a left-hander. Maybe he's a left-hander Okay, this is all speculation, everybody. Maybe he's a left-hander, Richard Allen, and he has the pistol for intimidation. Okay, and he pulls it to threaten because he knows he doesn't want to shoot it. But this is the ultimate weapon of choice over here. But this is to keep him in control because it's almost like if he does get in a fight, he wants his strong hand to be the one available for the attack, not the weak hand. You know what I mean? That's just a guess. It's a possibility. It could be the opposite way around. You never know.
Maybe. The gun is typically heavier. I would assume that the heavier object will go on his dominant hand for more control.
There you go. There you go. It would be more control. You're right.
So,
you know,
but I assume that he definitely had more than one weapon on him. You know, there's the gun aspect. There's been speculation out there that there's a mentioning of a gun on this longer clip.
Yep.
And there's the round that was found in between the bodies. So there's evidence for them to believe that a gun was involved. And we know that the manner in which they passed was by a sharp bladed object. So there's at least two weapons on this person's body or person at this point.
Yep. And we can't see either one of them in this photograph or in this video that we know of.
Right. You know what? I think I know why people were thinking that he potentially there's just some kind of brown filter. Because right here, it almost looks like the bottom of the jacket has this brown tone to it.
I gotcha. I see.
You know what I'm saying?
And that thing looks more like a ball, like it's all balled up in that other photograph.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see why people think that. I don't know why. I mean, it could be just because the quality of the camera is just blending things together.
Oh, yeah. Video codec. Yep.
Yeah, it could be just something similar to that. But I think that's why people are saying that there's a brown filter there. Interesting. I don't think that's what it is. I think it could be more the blending of the colors because of the video.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what it is. Because if you look at his hair and the woods, they kind of just flow right in together eventually. And same with his feet at certain times. You can't even see. It just kind of starts to blend right in with the bridge.
I wish I could. Oh, there it is. This is how you do it. You put on. There you go. I was like, I want to put it on repeat, but it just keeps turning on. Yeah, but I think I figured it out.
Yeah, it'll do it. It'll start over now. Yeah, see, he's even got his jacket, that one button right there in the middle, buttoned up. Okay, so he's got the jacket buttoned. So I don't know. I mean, I always thought that maybe he reached into his jacket with his right hand. Also, he could have reached through the top and pulled out the gun from there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, which is what we had our guy on the reenactment do, was stick his hand in under his jacket and pull it out as if it was a holster underneath his arms here. But it almost looks like, I mean, they have circled that specific area right there on his pocket and his jacket right there in that position at the very end there. And it kind of does resemble the shape of a firearm, but why would it be there? I don't know.
Have you been on the bridge before? This actual bridge?
Oh, I've been on this bridge. Oh no, not before the crime. I didn't even know.
No. Before it was redone.
Oh yeah.
How wide are those rail ties or wood, whatever they're called? That's on.
The rail ties. Okay, so that's a very difficult thing to judge because they're all different because it's so old. Some of them have broken away. They're all broken away in some way. Now it looks like they are 8 inches, eight. You know what I mean? So it looks like it's 8 by 8 or 8 by 12. Sorry, I think.
Because this shoe doesn't really cover. It doesn't look like his shoes are covering the entire tie. Meaning this guy has some smallest feet.
Yeah, so they're 8 inches across, 10 inches down is what they're supposed to be. But in that area, they're all buttered up next to each other.
because it doesn't look like his foot. It's hard to tell, obviously, but it doesn't look like his shoe is like wider than the railroad tie or longer than the width of the railroad ties of 8 inches. Looks about the same, which would give this. I don't know what that means in shoe size. Interesting.
Yeah.
I used to have some old railroad ties in the back of at my old house that I had put in front, and yeah, they're not that wide across. So this all tells me this guy here is a smaller dude.
Yeah. I would hope that anything that they can present would not. I mean, I hope that, I don't know. I guess, would a jury believe that that guy is short? Is the question.
I think you would be able to do some sort of test to figure that how tall he is based on the width of the rail ties or the height of the one that's going long ways across.
Right.
Like,
yep.
You would think that they would be able to. And I mean, if you look at his pants, like you can see where it's cuffed up. They're folded up. Look at the bottom of his pants. That's not an indication.
He's got longer pants.
Yeah, that's not an indication of somebody who's tall. That's an indication of somebody who's short. His pants are cuffed up at the bottom. You can see them. They're folded upwards or outwards.
Look, his
this is a
size
small
is 8
guy, man. Like this is a small dude. You can tell this is a small guy on the bridge.
You know what? And I think that's now you can. Back then, I couldn't tell that.
Yeah.
I was blinded to it, dude. Like staring at that for 7 years, there's so many things that change your head. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, because I assumed he was taller just because they're little girls. You know what I mean? Right. I think that was just a thing because they're little girls. I would assume that they are smaller than him. And that clouded my judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That right. This tells me this is a chubbier guy, short and chubby guy, because typically when you're a little bit on the heavier side and you have to get, size 36, 38 or whatever, they come with a certain length to them. You know what I mean? And this, for him to have to fold his pants up like that tells me that they're a little bit too long for him. They look a lot baggier they look pretty long on him.
Yeah, you can tell because it almost like comes down below the heel a little, or not below, but like it pulls down on his heel right there on that one. Yeah,
but you can see it, right? The discoloration right there above the shoes, where his pants are folded up.
Yep. Yeah, that's like white. It's like even more like washed out collar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a small guy. That's a small dude.
Yeah, and he's got. I think they took the Timberlands. I think that's maybe what he has on, these boots that he had that they took.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying, somebody goes 7 years later now, BG is short now. That fella.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never, this is the first time I covered this case. I didn't look at it until after Richard Allen was arrested. So I'm looking at it with some fresh eyes. I'm sure that if I looked at it back in the day, I probably would have said he's small too, because you can tell by his waist. Look at where his waist is and how much his pants are rolled up, and where his waist is at. Those pants are way long on this dude.
Here's where I thought we screwed up, dude. I thought we screwed up. So me and a guy named Matt Sullivan and his girlfriend and a friend of mine that's also on YouTube, the Captain Howdy, did a test where we made that video a transparent, where we could see through it. Yeah. And we went out to the actual crime scene location with the camera, and we set down my Canon camera, and we set it up on a tripod, and we found, and we lined it all up to where everything fit, every little branch and tree, we lined it all up, and then walked out there. Now I'm 5'9", and I walked to that location. So basically it would be me and him transparent with each other. And I was taller than him. And we came out to be at 5'6", and then we found out that we were 2 inches off, which brought us down to 5'4", which we both said something was screwed up. We did it wrong, and we dismissed it completely as it's not even right. You know what I mean? Because I thought that we were totally off, and I wish I still had that video. Matt may have it. Matt Sullivan. He's usually on Facebook. He's not on YouTube anymore, I don't think. But
yeah,
it was
interesting.
Dismissing it was the problem.
Well, when the prime suspect is 6'2", and your hypothesis shows up somebody who's about a foot shorter, most people are probably thinking, I think I did something wrong.
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, I understand, but just looking at this from right here, I can tell that this person has little legs because of the way their pants are. Yeah, how much they're folded. Like his knee is bending above where the knee should bend in the pants. You see that?
Yep.
So
right
there
there.
His knee should be that pant is designed for the knee to be bent. It's a little bit further down. You can see where it's kind of like there, and you can see where his knee comes up over where that spot is at. So, these pants are way too big for this guy. I mean, if this dude was 6'2", how long are these pants? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
were these pants for like Shaq or something like that? Because, now these look like these are probably 36 by 34, and this dude, or even 36 by 30. If he's 5'4", those are gonna hang long onto this guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I see it now, and you know what? It took a long time to figure all this out.
Yeah.
Maybe
he wore bigger pants on purpose. Yeah, I mean it's possible, but I mean what are you getting? Where are you getting these pants at? If you're 6'2" to get them that much longer than your height, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
these would have to be
sense.
Right. And if you look at these pants, they don't, like, once you get into like some bigger sizes, like for instance, Ron Logan, he looked like a heavier guy. If he got pants that were this baggy on him, they would be like 44s, 42s. And when you go up into that size, there's like this bulge.
I think there's
at the top of your
Ron.
pants. Yeah.
I think there's actually a video of Ron standing there with pants on.
Right. But what I'm saying is, for a guy of his size and weight, if he was wearing pants that were baggier for him, there would be like a huge bulge at the top, because once you get to those sizes, that's what happens. And it would not look like this. This looks more like somebody who's wearing pants that are just a little bit too long for him at the most part. Yeah. You know what I mean? And my thing is, if you're finding pants that are too long for Ron Logan, I mean, there's only a few places you can find those. And if you're not finding those type of pants in his house, then you might want to go check stores, the big and tall and stuff like that, and see if anybody bought pants for somebody 6'5", because these look like they're a few inches too long for this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially,
and then if that's a t-shirt,
looks big.
Right. I mean, everything look at his arms. Look at the arms. Look at how scrunched up that is on his arms. On the jacket.
Yeah.
This is
like
a small
right there
guy.
between his forearm to his elbow is like just all crunched.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like when I'm standing here, it doesn't do it like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple wrinkles there from bending, but that's like really scrunched up like this.
Yeah. Yeah. That looks like a scrunchie for somebody's hair. So, I mean, that's really scrunched up. There's nothing in here that is screaming somebody tall. This is screaming somebody really short to me. I mean, if that brown, whatever that is, if people think it's a fanny pack, if that ends up being a t-shirt, how long of a t-shirt is Ron Logan getting for it to be that long on him that he's 6'2"? I mean, where is his clothes coming from?
Yeah, I wouldn't see Ron Logan having anything like that. So, because Ron's a guy, he would tuck his shirt in.
Well, not even that. I think that when you have somebody that tall, you're probably having other problems with pants. Pants that aren't long enough, jackets that aren't long enough. Not the opposite issue where your arms are too short or your legs are too short for for the for your jacket and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Then again, I mean, I've been trained to look at things like this, so it's a little bit easier for me to see things and point them out.
Yeah, and I think that, me being just like so involved with it so early and just like so not just involved with it in a true crime aspect, but like this is where I'm from. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like I was like just I guess more clouded with my judgment on thinking on things and more, bias in my decisions on some things because I was almost positive that I knew who the killer would be one day.
Mhm.
And I didn't. He fit my profile, but I didn't know it was that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the issue is that, like, 9 times out of 10, when you have a case and the killer is unknown and the case goes longer than a couple of months or at least a month and a half, 9 times out of 10 in those situations, the person that ends up being the killer is somebody that we never heard about. Brian Koberger. Everybody was looking in that case. Oh, it was one of the Jacks. It was Jake. It was Jack. It was Tom. It was somebody from the Sigma Chi. And all of a sudden, Brian Koberger gets arrested, and everybody's like, "Who?" Same thing here with Richard Allen. Who's this guy? Nobody even knew who this guy was. And usually, that's the case because if it was somebody that we could have figured out based on the information they had, police would have figured it out based on the information they have, plus more. You know what I'm saying? So, granted, there are times where, we'll like us content creators can help, and that's usually when there's like an active current missing or persons that you're looking for, like in the Gabby Petito case. When people were looking for her, that was recent. That wasn't something that was years old or any of those type of things. That was in the moment. So those are the type of things that we probably would see a lot of help from, unless we have like a phone show and somebody calls in, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But in this scenario here, the fact that it took so long to find somebody, the less likely it's somebody from the inner circle.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what I immediately thought was like, man, it took forever to find this person. I started to even doubt that the person, lived around the area. Anymore. I mean, I thought that they were familiar with the area and had lived there, but I was starting to think, man, this person has just gone by now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the person they arrested, he didn't leave.
Yeah. That's crazy. If anybody has any questions for us, hit us up in the comment section. Try to put a couple of stars over it. That way I can see it. Somebody asks, wasn't Libby around RA's height and 200 pounds?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she was. So, I mean, they would have been similar in height and weight, her and him, which is nuts to think that so think about this. If they are this very similar in height and weight, he decided to take on two people being really outweighed. You know what I mean? Like, and not in the best position to be in full control unless without the firearm.
Yeah, well, I mean, a knife can even up the score pretty quick. And in the Brian Koberger case, a lot of folks are like, 11 minutes is all he had. He was smaller than Ethan. He was 6'5". Brian Koberger 6 foot, 6'1" and they're like, he's smaller and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but a 7-inch blade kind of evens it up, if not, sways the advantage in that situation. Fairly quickly. New to the case, has his voice been compared with the audio of the video? There's been certain clips that have been out there that have tried to compare the down the hill, and I think he had a video where him and his wife were going up some sort of what is it, like not an escalator
or something.
Yeah, and there was some kind of
like the lift.
There you go. They were on a lift up a mountain, and he was talking, and it sounds similar. I mean, it's just hard. You know what I mean? The
we don't have enough.
Yeah, the quality of the recording on the from the girls, and the quality and the age and the recording from that one It's difficult. It's difficult to tell one way or the other.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how credible those are in a courtroom.
Mhm.
You know, like I don't know how voice experts. I don't know if I've ever. Is that a thing that they do?
Yeah, there is. And you can, I mean, there's frequency and things like that that you can match up that they can do now that maybe wasn't around back in the day.
Yeah.
So to kind of put a bow on everything and just kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about, some of the stuff that was released. Do you think that there will be any action against those that got the pictures or any of the documents themselves when it comes to this case?
Like private citizens?
Yeah. Like, I mean, the pictures and some of the information went out to people. Now, I personally don't know anybody, but if somebody did share some of the information or share the pictures or maybe perhaps shared any other information that were available or that has been disclosed without authorization or whatever, do you think there's anything going on against any of the creators?
Yeah.
You think something
Yeah,
happened?
there might be. I mean, it might be. I mean, I definitely think that some of the people that will be being called as witnesses have their credibility skewed by far with certain things that are not yet publicly available, but have been publicly mentioned through documents, but the exhibits aren't available.
Interesting. And you think that there's going to be certain people that are going to be called to testify into this trial?
Yes.
That are just solely because of the evidence that they got? Like, what
Yes.
is the evidence that they have to pertain to his innocence or guilt?
It would pertain to things that the things that I have seen and submitted to the court pertain to his guilt, and were leaked some point after the crime scene photo leak, but not associated with the crime scene photo leak.
So something
I guess
different.
I can't really something different that nobody has seen, I don't think.
Uh-huh.
Or if they have, very few have, from what I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I'm assuming that the information that maybe people that have gotten leaked information and stuff like that may be going to trial for the preliminary stuff, or is it actually going to be in his murder trial?
I think some people could be pulled into the actual trial for the murder.
Really?
But yeah, I think some. Now, but I really think that it's going to it's for sure happening in this preliminary, the contempt hearing coming up next week. So that's for sure happening there. And I think that over time it's going to snowball into some other stuff, because I think that just more and more stuff is going to keep coming out that's going to bring more people involved into this in some way, shape, or form. I know. That's just a thought. I mean, it may not happen, but I think that.
Interesting. You think anybody has anything to be worried about when it comes to reporting some of the stuff that they've talked about or anything like that?
I think that people need to be totally aware of what they talk about on the internet, and that doesn't go for Delphi. That goes for any case, because now we're to a point where if you are just a person who comments on Reddit, or if you're a person that's commenting right now in the chat and you say something, just be advised that it can be used in court. It could be used in a trial. Your name might come up in something, and if you don't want your personal information out there, be cautious with what you say on the internet, even if you just type it, because things that are being typed by people in groups are showing up in a murder trial investigation. So, I think I do just caution people as to some of the things they say on there.
Yeah, I've seen some other names that have come up in like some of the documents for like the Koberger case for creators and stuff on certain things. Nothing. Well, I mean, there was some earlier ones, some TikTokers who were going hard on a a professor there at the University of Idaho claiming that she had something to do with the murders before Brian Koberger's arrest, and she ended up suing somebody. Yeah, it got pretty crazy. Yeah, no, man, I was just kind of curious. These leaks were put out there. I know that there were several different creators who received them, including myself. And I was just kind of curious because nobody's contacted me about it, but I was interested in knowing if those that were, maybe perhaps contacted early on, one of the first groups of folks that had that information, if those guys were, being brought in or questioned about anything.
So actually I was emailed them like the day it was made public. I got the emails when I was live, and reported it, and we're to a point where I've never been interrogated or anything like that over it. I was told to delete them. I did. And then over the weekend, I found them again on a social media site.
Really? They were on a media site. Interesting. I didn't know that. Probably Reddit. Something different. I mean, you don't have to tell me which one it was.
Do what now?
I was like, which site was it? Was it Reddit?
No, it was Discord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, which is ironic because it came from a Discord that is associated with people that are witnesses for the defense. So, I mean, if they're going to go defend, that's what's interesting to me is they're going to go in there using these witnesses to defend them. You know what I mean? To defend them against contempt and saying they shouldn't be held in contempt, but the evidence that I've seen shows opposite of that. But it hasn't been to court, so there's no judgment on it.
Interesting. And when is that court date happening?
That's for yeah. Do what?
When is that court date happening?
The contempt hearing is on the 18th, Monday.
Interesting. Where is that going to be at? Where can people find that? Is that going to be live, or is that something that you have to watch after the fact?
So there's not going to be any video of that hearing, but it's going to be something you can watch after the fact. But I'm going to be live talking about it during that day and have people that are there and in the courtroom and providing updates as they're there and kind of filming for us while it's happening. I'm going to be live with them.
Awesome, man. Cool. Let me know, man. I want to jump in on that. That'd be interesting
Definitely.
to see. I don't know
Definitely.
anything that's going on. I don't know anything that's going on there. I've seen some folks, talking about certain things, about being asked about certain things. And I saw here recently there was a CW documentary or something like that. Some creators came out on that. And I didn't see the whole thing on the CW. Yes. I saw part of it. Were you a part of that?
Yeah. Yes, I've seen the documentations. So no, I wasn't a part of CW.
Okay.
But so what they're saying is that my phone pings near the area that day, right? Is what they're trying to claim, in their defense documents. So they're so stupid. But here's what's funny is it didn't. You know what I mean? It didn't, but it's just it goes on to be even funnier. That's what's happening. I don't know.
That's crazy. So somebody's trying to say that you may have done this? Oh,
yeah. And I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming from the defense team after what I sent. I already knew. I had already been told that they were going to respond with some hate, and I had expected it. And I am totally
that's insane, man. But it's insane that it comes from that far up.
Yeah. These are just there's not in any document that I've seen, but I've heard these things from people that are with them. You know what I mean?
Because I've had people send me pictures of for instance, in the Delphi in the Brian Koberger case, there's a lot of people that have emailed me certain things, but there's this guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him, JLR Investigates.
Yeah, I know Jonathan Lee Riches.
Yeah, somebody claimed that Jonathan Lee Riches was involved in the Idaho case, and they literally sent me pictures of his hands that they zoomed in on that were cut. And they're like, where was he November 13th? I was like, I don't know, probably yelling at someone. You know, I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, man, I've heard a few of those things as well. That's crazy, man. So but your stuff is cleared out, right? You don't have anything to do like, or are you still dealing with that?
With what?
That accusation.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure I always will, right?
Yeah.
That'd be funny. But no, I mean, realistically, no, that accusation holds no weight. It's just stuff that people talk about, it's just rumors and stuff like that. But it's funny because my statement and my whereabouts were actually like given on those days, and my phone was tracked because I did give it to them. So like any allegations that try to say anything against that would absolutely be like just totally unfounded. You know what I mean? So like anybody to say that anybody was near a crime scene that day, I think I've established that within that specific area that anybody could have been there. Anybody could have driven by,
And so, but just for the curious minds, were you around that area that day?
Yep. I was around that area that day, not the hybrid. Let me show you. Actually, I can pull it up on a map and show you. So everyone is real clear on where I was. You know what I mean? So everybody knows. You can take a look at it, and we'll see exactly where I was that day. Let me go to it, pull it up. And so like the police actually, when they met with me the very first time, when they were going around doing their look for everybody on that day.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Basically, they went from, let me switch it over to, there we are. All right. You got that?
Yeah. Let me pull that up.
Okay. So this is Delphi. And that day at 2 something, what was it? It was 2:25, I believe it was, or 2:23, something like that. I can't remember the exact time they gave me. I left Lafayette, Indiana here and got to Delphi, Indiana around 3 to 3:15. And I would have came to Delphi by going all the way up to right here, which is the Freedom Bridge, and then turning left into the middle of town, where I went into town, and then I went to a friend's house. Now, if they're considering this near the crime scene, because at that exact same time that I did that, Richard Allen would have been parked right here.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? And so like that would have been at the same time that they're saying these things happened, but they would have been way down here all the way. They would have been over here, and I would have driven on the road from here to here and then here. And if anybody's curious what I was driving that day, I was in a black or a red Dodge Charger with a black female driver.
Some people said that they saw like a 65 red vehicle out there. Could that have been your Charger?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it was parked out there. I know, it is funny. So like, yeah, so the cops they even looked at that and talked to my friend and had confirmed all that. You know what I mean? So I get a lot of hate from people who just think otherwise, but that's expected when you get into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. Like I said, I've heard some of the craziest things. I don't think you match the guy on the bridge, though.
No,
nope. You don't look like him. So, what else do you have going on before we let you go, and then we'll call it a day? You have any questions for me?
No, man. You know what? Actually, yeah, I do. So Ivy, yes, it was a rumor that I thought I wanted to answer that before she said that. Yeah, dude, actually. So I was curious as to, for my viewers, tell everybody kind of what you do on a regular basis. Is this all true crime? Is it some true crime, some other stuff? Like give them because they probably haven't seen you on my channel. I don't think you've been on my channel, have you?
I don't think so. We need to change that.
Yeah.
No, most of it is true crime. Long story short, it's actually a podcast with me and my two other buddies. Right now, they're dealing with some scheduling issues, so they're not on as often as they were before. Big Blue comes on now, usually on Fridays, sometimes Mondays, but the rest of the time it's myself. Now, before, when we started this podcast, it wasn't anywhere near true crime. It was supposed to be about conspiracies, aliens, UFOs, things of that nature, ghost stories, and but I have a background in law enforcement. My buddy Blue has a background in the medical field, and Jaime has a background in the Army and military. And he was infatuated, or is infatuated, with serial killers and things of that nature. And he's heard every podcast on everything. So he's got a large repertoire of information when it comes to those that commit offenses repeatedly. And it just so happened that we just started talking about true crime. People started saying, hey, y'all guys are pretty decent at talking about true crime. Maybe that should be what y'all talk about more. And it was funny because the first case that we talked about in true crime was actually Richard Allen. You know, we got involved in true crime when he got arrested. You know, I had heard about the case. I knew that it was unsolved for years. I knew that there was a Snapchat video, but I didn't know a lot of the details of the case or the ins and outs of it. So we kind of just started off not knowing much, and then Brian Koberger incident occurred, the Idaho murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, and we started covering that case extensively. I've had several sources in that case, from people that are professionals to victims' family members. And so, you know, we've gotten really, really deep into that case. I can probably talk about that case all day, about all the information that's there. But if you want a clear understanding of what's going on there, check us out. We're the Drunk Turkey Show.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, they are really cool, man. And you guys got, I think, how many subscribers do you guys got?
40,400, somewhere around
Holy
there.
cow, dude. 40,000 subscribers. Congratulations.
Yes,
That's
yes,
a feat, man. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. Yeah, we're trying to hit 50K. We jumped up very quickly from 300 subscribers to about 10,000 subscribers in a month. And then it just jumped up again and again. And then it's kind of plateaued here recently, mainly because we don't really pander to things that are, I don't want to say conspiracy, because if there's a question about something, we'll go into it. We'll dive into it. You know what I mean? But we don't pander into it could be anybody but Brian Koberger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we don't pander to that. We don't listen to a lot of the really out there stuff, and we don't put it out there. So that's kind of taking a hit on it, you know, just kind of sticking to the evidence. But in doing so, we've met a lot of great people and talked to a lot of great people, professionals, people that are forensic professionals, law enforcement professionals, court professionals. Like I said, victims' family members who have appreciated what we do, you know, the work that we've done. And, you know, that's what it's about for me.
Well, that's awesome, man. So just for the people that are in yours that don't know me, or that may see this and don't know who I am. So, you know, I'm from Delphi, where this crime happened at. That's why I kind of got into covering it. I had a partner for a long time. It was my best friend, Michael Catt. He passed away in 2021, and he got me into thank you. He got me into this, and we've been doing this, or I've been doing this since. But, you know, I'm really not a big true crime guy. I don't watch a lot of television at all myself. I'm just very interested in seeing this case out because I just feel so involved and so, you know, just emotionally invested into it that I don't feel like I can stop raising awareness for the two girls. And, you know, my back history is, you know, I used to work in fugitive recovery as a bounty hunter, and I got myself in some trouble while doing it and got myself arrested and put in jail. And so, like, I know both aspects of the judicial system. I've been into both positions to put them in, and I've been in myself. And so I use that as an experience to, help people understand this situation from all aspects of it, not just either like a law enforcement aspect or the criminal aspect. I'm kind of familiar with both of it, so it's just what I bring to the table, which I like. I like collaborating with people, especially like former law enforcement and stuff like you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got things that they've done that may have. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean?
Nobody's
And the work that you've done, the amount of time that you put and effort into this case is admirable. And I like to do, like I said, I wanted to pick your brain on a lot of the things that happened. I'm not familiar with the area. I'm not familiar with the place. I'm not familiar with the people. You've been there. You live there. You've had to give your locations to law enforcement because apparently you were very close. Yeah. So, your perspective on what's going on in this case is something that, I myself, or probably any of these other creators who are not from the area. Now, I do know that there are some that are from the area and they can, also give that vantage point as well. But, some of the larger creators that are out there that are more not so specific to one case, they're not familiar with that area. They're not familiar with the people. They're not familiar with the law enforcement and how they work.
Same. And you know what? That's the kind of like good job on the Soto case and Guerrero case down there, man. Yeah. I mean, I was asking you because you're there. You're actually at the scene. It's like, hey, man, I don't know. Can you explain? And you were able to give us some clarification on that.
Oh yeah, man. That situation was, there was a clear setup. I could tell from when I got there, and I was like, man, how is this guy not caught? There are cameras everywhere here. This is where they went. They had to have been familiar with the area. They had to have known this place. This place is somewhere I drove by without seeing. And sure enough, the person that committed the crime lived about 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
And so, and I had his house on camera because I had videotaped myself driving to that area. And before he got caught, I had his house on camera when I drove out there, and that vehicle that they ended up impounding was on there, and it was parked all the way back into the driveway, kind of suspiciously. It was weird. Now that I had seen it, it was weird. It was weird.
It is weird, especially thinking about it from a past tense.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. Let's see. I don't know why somebody named Kimberly is going so crazy on me, but
where's that at? Is that in yours or mine?
I don't know. I blocked them. So somebody's saying that apparently I do dirty work. Okay, and that I stink. Karen Lee asked, why the Drunk Turkey? Is there a story behind your name? Yes, there is actually. So like I said before, we weren't going to be about anything true crime. So Drunk Turkey Show doesn't sound like the true crime, the most true crime show you can come up across. We were trying to be more on the comedic side of things. We wanted to be more of a humorous. And when I came up with the name, it happened around Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, which why the turkey. And I was watching Rocky, and there was a specific movie where his trainer tells him that if he keeps boxing, he's going to end up punch drunk. And so I initially wanted to call it the Punch Turkey Show. And in fact, our first logo that we had, let me see if I still have it. I know I have it here. It's in the top right corner. You can't see it, but I actually drew it out. And if you zoom in on it, which is pretty hard to do, but if you were to have zoomed in on it, you would have seen that it had a black eye, because that was to pay homage to the original name of Punch Turkey. Why we didn't keep it was because I went on YouTube to make sure that the name wasn't taken, and I found a YouTube channel called Slapped Ham, and I don't want people to think that, oh man, he went from Slapped Ham to Punch Turkey. So I took the other word and Punch Drunk, and we came up with Drunk Turkey. Me and the guys tried to drink on the show, and it be a drinking show, but we got too toasty a few times, and we're not really drinkers like that, like 3 times a week or whatever.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So we're rarely ever drunk. But we tried a few times.
It's a good concept though.
Yeah, we wanted it, to test out beers and give people our opinion on them while we talked about random stuff. And we did that. But man, we got way too tipsy and toasty and start going a little too crazy. So we had to tone it down. And then once we got into like true crime, you know, mixing the two really wasn't our best stuff. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But I appreciate you, Anthony, for coming on. We got to do this again. Let's just aim again, you know, once some of these trials things have come across and are finished, so we can kind of go over what had happened.
All right, buddy. Yeah, I'm willing to do it anytime, Daniel. And thanks for allowing me on your platform, and thanks for letting me stream it to my viewers. And viewers, go over here and subscribe, man. Drunk Turkey Show.
100%. I appreciate that. Let me show everybody this. So this is the True Crime Investigates webpage. Just search up True Crime Investigates. Go give him a follow and a subscribe. Let's get him up there. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate everybody. Y'all have a safe night. Tomorrow I might be on. I found some things. I was going through some pictures in the Idaho case. I think I may have found something. You don't want to miss it. So hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We're going to go over it tomorrow night sometime. So with that being said, we're out of here.